More, lots more.
Folks, welcome back to the show where it is not wrestling with your conscience. It is not wrestling with your budget. It is wrestling with emotion. And for the first time in about 6 weeks, we have some serious, movement in the wrestling sphere. We had an amazing AEW Double or Nothing, which they'll look to follow up on tonight with some tough stuff with the TNT Championship, obviously, which we'll get into. We got Monday Night Raw having an amazing Memorial Day episode with some storytelling that would make George R.R. Martin a little bit envious. And we got NXT getting sexy. So let's get our panel in here. We got Slick L, we got the Prophet Rob Ryan, and we got your friend, my friend, our friend, Jake Micah. Jen, great time as always. Last 2 years to be a wrestling fan, and this past week no different. I guess I'd start out here. We do have a huge rundown, but what stuck out to you most this past couple of days? Why don't you start us off around the horn?
I think I'm going to say the two pay-per-views back-to-back, PLE to pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. I thought WWE had a lot to do this weekend with that Saudi show, King of the Ring, and then the Monday Night Raw. They followed it up very well, but for me, the highlight of the weekend was Double or Nothing. It kind of felt like a resurgence of AEW saying, listen, we can dip our toe in the water too and make a splash if we really want to. We got some big guns behind this curtain, and we're going to fucking use them. And that's what they did, and it felt really good to see that. It felt good to see Max back, and great show from AEW, which we all expected.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I think Double or Nothing stole the weekend. We've been talking for weeks now with even the big signings they've had. The ratings are still not there. Now is the time, now that Max is back, that if these ratings don't go up, I don't think they'll ever go up. Max is clearly their biggest star in the company, one of the biggest stars in the wrestling business. And Double or Nothing was just a showstopper. I mean, a man got lit on fire. When the hell do you see a man get lit on fire? That's enough that needs to be said there.
Yeah.
That's the two things I was gonna say is the only visuals I can't get out of my head are Darby hanging in the ring for what I felt was like 30 minutes. At least it would have felt like that for me, at least. I don't know how he did. Of all the stunts he's done, that's just one of the craziest to me. And then, yeah, a man was literally on fire on a pay-per-view on Sunday, and that match every year just gets crazier and crazier. That's the lasting image. But it's been 4 days straight of a lot, like you said, Maniac, at the beginning, a lot of huge developments across all the brands, even TNA getting involved in it too. Like we're going to be talking, we're going to be jumping all over the world here. We got Forbidden Doors starting stuff, or Forbidden Board build starting up tonight. So we're in a good spot.
No, it's the permitted portal. Okay. Get your terminology right, Mark. But with that said, yeah, I love it. And you guys hit the nail on the head. Double or Nothing stole the show. Even just that Anarchy in the Arena match. I mean, music during a wrestling match. I don't know if I've seen that before at a professional level. And it was done amazingly in a hilarious way throughout the match. So that was a great time. Let's get into it, though, obviously. And first, we'll talk the Big E out of King, Queen of the Ring. Obviously, I think we said an okay event. I think the funny thing is if you listen to this show about a week or two ago, we started sensing that even though it was going to be the culmination of those tournaments, even though you're going to have Cody versus Logan, that this show was going to be second on the weekend, and it ended up being. But with that said, I don't think they're any worse for the wear. You still look at what they're doing. I think the storytelling on Monday Night Raw was unbelievable. You literally had it begin with the first segment with Strowman coming down after the Judgment Day, and that literally peeled into the very last thing that happened on TV. I couldn't believe it, honestly. And then there was a lot in between there as well. So what's sticking out to you guys most now about like outside of the title picture on everything that's going on the WWE side of things? Micah, why don't you start us up here?
Well, I guess so. I can't say Dom and Liv outside of the title picture. If she's
Oh,
still
sorry, no,
champion.
that's fine. That because that storyline it eclipses any title.
I feel like that's the most viral storyline we're gonna have in WWE for a while. Where that clip, it's so interesting, and maybe they just ran out of time, and maybe that's what it was. But the fact that it was a stare down, and then afterwards the clip starts going out about Liv kissing Dom and whatever's going on with those two afterwards on socials, and it blew up right away. All the Dom stuff he's done in the past, where we had the invasion going to Ray's house was a social clip, right? Like that wasn't on Raw and everything else. So I feel like they're really aiming for a specific demographic with that, and it's gonna hit. And the story is gonna, like, it's just the beginning. We can already see where all these pieces are laid out. That's the most interesting thing for me, and the way it went down in the title picture with Becky was really interesting. But if we're gonna go just outside of anything completely title related, Bron Breaker, I'm loving the way that they've kind of introduced Bron Breaker to the roster. It's not a way, like, not just a guy coming up and we're going to put him, Carmelo kind of got the basic way, like, he's going to fight Cody and then he's going to fight Randy and he's going to fight them close, but he's going to lose closely. Bron is just out here causing havoc for literally we don't really know what his reason is. I guess he was mad he wasn't in the tournament, but he's just, every week wrecking shop on Raw, and I'm interested to see how they move forward with him.
Yeah, I was going to talk about Alpha Academy, but I know we're going to talk about that later in the show, so I won't talk about that. I know we say non-title picture, but I mean, it's technically non-title picture, but still is title picture. You typically in the past in WWE, if there was a botch, they don't talk about it. They kind of just ignore it. They're going full steam with this Gunther Randy pin botch, and I'm excited to see. Obviously, I don't think it's going to change anything. Gunther's going to still be it, maybe. Who knows? But I'm liking how, I don't know if it was on purpose or if it was an actual botch, but I'm liking how they're actually talking about it, and they may actually settle it in the near future, unlike other ones. And then for other things, WWE, Bron Breaker, obviously, it was kind of weird that he wasn't in the King of the Ring tournament because all the other big NXT guys and girls were in the tournament, but I'm loving what they're doing there. And then something that happened in Saudi, but obviously it wasn't on Raw or wasn't at King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring. I'm liking this AJ Styles little thing they got going there. We could possibly see Nick Aldis return to the ring. I'm excited to see where that goes.
You guys hit all great points for sure, but I think the obvious one coming out, King of the Ring not being on the show themselves, is the Bloodline. The longest running story in WWE, still has a lot to offer. There's still members of the family that have yet to show up, and they weren't on the Saudi PLE, which is kind of crazy considering the fame level that this storyline and this family has at this point. And this story is still going. Like I said, a lot to happen coming out of it. A lot of avenues to go down, and it'll be interesting to see where they go when the tribal chief enters the picture back, and what's in store for them for the rest of 2024, because you got to think they're going to do something pretty big with those family members.
Yeah, Prophet, you hit the nail on the head. The biggest thing to come out of this weekend is the fact that WWE is acknowledging that in one of their biggest matches, they had an issue, that something went off a little awry. In past, I mean, how many times did WWE tell you that things were going to be different? As, we're going to fire Baron Corbin, the storytelling is going to be better, or all this bullshit. Things didn't really change. You're seeing that things are changing, and that's why I'm thankful that we are in the Logan Paul Levesque era of WWE.
Didn't see that coming.
Speaking of Logan Paul, I mean, we also know we're no longer in the Kevin Dunn era with that freaking drone footage of him jumping.
That's a no-brainer.
That was wild.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, that was a no-brainer. And I like, it's very funny is that, Logan Paul is an accomplished WWE superstar at this point. It goes without saying. He's one of the best on the mic. His match, he doesn't have a ton of matches, but if you look at his match quality, he probably hasn't wrestled a match that was lower than an 8, which is pretty crazy, right? Like at the end of the day. But I want to say the funny thing is that he does all this. He has this great match. He has all this going on, but he still wants to let you know that he had this idea a year ago and it only just got used this past weekend. He still wanted you to know that at the end of the day.
How many people in his same capacity. Like they have this many matches in the WWE. I'm pretty sure he's had 2 world title matches already.
Insane.
Give or take, both were in Saudi Arabia. But
I was thinking about that the other day. Like, there's nothing like what Logan Paul has come in and done. Like, there's people that have just come in straight from the street and, you know, got trained up real quick and got into matches. But the run that he's on and the level that he's on already that's what, like, there's, you know, a storyline and everything else with him and Cody. But there's also truth to Cody's promo. Like, listen, like, if you actually give yourself to this, like, you could have everything you wanted in it. And I think if Logan Paul has decided tomorrow, I'm just going to be a full-time WWE wrestler. Like, I'm going to be there every week. Like, I won't do all this extra stuff. Won't do any of these fights. How high is he on this card? Like, is he number 2? Is he number 3? Like, he's top. Easily. He's number 3. I feel like he slots in at 3rd behind Cody and Roman. Like,
yeah, I mean,
immediately.
He's in the world heavyweight title picture at least by the end of the year. At least that picture.
And a Royal Rumble favorite. Like,
yes, for sure.
Like, easily. It's crazy. It's crazy to see.
Yeah, his Money in the Bank odds are going to be very interesting to look at. Yes. But speaking of the title picture, that's why we put it off a little bit here, folks, because now we can get into it. Let's talk the World Heavyweight title. Do we have a mismatch on the mic for a phones here? Because Drew McIntyre is spitting some hot fire. He's going into Clash at the Castle. He obviously knows what's going on. Priest fell a little flat yesterday. I get that he was trying to do the angle where he gets him worked up, but I don't know. You're going to the guy's wife this early. Seems like a little bit of a mismatch. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but I'm pretty pumped up for this eventual build that we're going to get over the next couple weeks here. Basically 2 weeks.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, this poster says it all. You don't see the World Heavyweight Champion on the cover of that poster at all. It's just the challenger going into the home territory. That opening segment was pretty good. Interesting, Braun and stuff getting involved, but nonetheless, you know, Priest did have a good promo the Raw before, so maybe this is just one where Drew sucked the life out of him. I don't know. Drew is great on the mic. We all know that. He's probably one of the best internet trolls in the game too. It's hard to go toe-to-toe with Drew McIntyre, and Priest fell short last night, I guess, or Monday.
Well, did you actually think so, or am I just saying that?
I didn't watch.
Ooh, someone had a long weekend. But for anyone who saw it, Rob, did you watch on Monday?
Yeah, I did.
Ooh, you don't feel comfortable saying it outright.
I don't know. I didn't really. I mean, yeah, he did kind of like he triumphed. He was the triumph. I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
Prop. The lights are shining. There's no head of the table here.
He was the winner in the promo, but on the other hand, I don't think I'm making it that much big of a deal. Like sounds like you are. I didn't really notice it that much. Obviously, I think Priest did kind of get a little weary bringing up his wife. But in the end, I think it's once again I think this all comes down to if CM Punk shows up in Scotland or not. I don't think it matters what goes on with these two. I think it all depends if CM Punk shows up there.
If you don't send CM Punk to Scotland, you're fucking idiots.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean, that's pretty factual. He is going to show up in Scotland just to, knock him, just to be under that ring.
Yeah, he'll be laying there for a while. There's no way Punk doesn't get involved in Scotland and become the most hated man that country's ever seen, at least wrestling wise, in my opinion. But if we're talking about Priest, I like Damian Priest. I liked him in ROH. Punishment Martinez. This is out of his league though. He is not world heavyweight champion material in my opinion. Triple H has loved the man since NXT days. It's clear how high Triple H has been on him for a while. And I think it's a good faith reward, him getting this run and a guy that stood there where they like working together, whatever it is. But he's not Drew McIntyre. He's not more over, or maybe Finn isn't more over than him right now because of exact positioning. But I think they did that on purpose because is Dom, Rhea, and Finn better and more over than Damian Priest? Is he the fourth best member of his own group, and he's world champion? So he doesn't. I don't think he belongs here. I think that he survives Clash and survives Money in the Bank because you give Gunther a nice that. What will Gunther be the favorite at SummerSlam if it's against Priest? minus 1,000. You give him just the crowning moment there and start that run, and then you save a lot of big Gunther matches you can have down the line if you do it against Priest.
Gunther's going to be the damn champion in football season.
and in Germany.
Nick, are you saying Priest is going to beat McIntyre at Clash?
Oh yeah,
I think
because Punk's showing
it's
up.
going to be shenanigans, obviously.
Because you need to have, if Punk is healthy, you need to have Drew Punk at SummerSlam.
Chicago.
I think you can still get the insane heat from the crowd with Punk doing something to Drew while having Drew win this belt back.
But the only problem
this ain't the Vince McMahon era though. There's no more halfways with like the music hitting and the guy looks stupid like looking at the entryway. They go full way with like interference and everything now.
I think what we said last show, you don't announce it, you hit the music and have him special guest commentator like unannounced to anyone, get that reaction. Have Drew have his moment, and then after the match, I don't know, get Punk in there with a chair or something and just beat the shit out of him in front of all these angry Scots.
The only problem is that Gunther won King of the Ring. He needs to challenge the world's heavyweight champion at SummerSlam, and if Drew is that champion, then we don't get Drew Punk.
That's where I'm at too.
Very good point. Profit for a reason.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs. It's gonna be up for WWE to book this right because this is an interesting time because the title's not going anywhere off Cody. He's basically like
unless the final boss decides.
My god! Dude, don't even talk to me about.
Come on, boy.
Boy, I'm coming back for that belt, boy. I gave you a small item. I gave you a pack of mints, and I want them back. Speaking of which, speaking of giving something, we got to give some time here to our sponsor, Batavia Downs. Let's get some train wreck trivia.
Batavia Downs! More, lots more!
Okay, we have Gunther as the King of the Ring. With that said, who is the only wrestler to win the King of the Ring tournament twice?
Stone Cold?
Damn. Same
Bret
era,
Hart.
though.
Kevin
Bret
Nash.
Hart, 1991 and 1993.
91.
Apparently, there was no King of the Ring in 1992. I was trying to look up reason why. Maybe I look like an idiot. I don't know. I hope there wasn't anything like crazy, but I tried to research it, couldn't find out why. Small add-on trivia: who was the King of the Ring in 1994?
Owen Hart.
Owen Hart. Nice snipe, Slick. Got a little bit of your dad back there, huh? Got a little bit of your swaggeroo. Okay.
Not that young, folks. I mean, I might be younger than that.
Let's put a wrap on the WWE talk. Well, not only main roster for the moment here. I just want to real talk real quick. Alpha Academy. I threw them in the rundown here. I feel like this is the example of when you're getting basically like a C-level storyline and it's bordering on up to the A tier. At this point, Chad Gable is just so over the top as this broken guy who can never beat Sami Zayn or win the big match to win a championship, to where clearly he's taking it out of his own team, just loves throwing them out of the ring. You got Maxine standing up to him on the Raw. Maxine stopped him from whipping friggin' Otis. And then you got Tozawa, who just, again, what would Tozawa be doing if he wasn't in this group? This is a prime example of where the sum of the whole is greater than the individual parts. Like they're doing work that's way greater than they have ACs do. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you guys had any thoughts on them or any other factions that you guys were looking at specifically, obviously Judgment Day, Bloodline, like those are the two that have been really running things for obviously the last like 9 to 12 months. But I'm really impressed at like how the Alpha Academies emerged these last 2-3 months.
Yeah, it's right in line with Gable, like coming into his own, especially as a heel. Like it's such a perfect. It's such a perfect fit. He's getting the "you suck" chants everywhere now, which is a great sign of respect to him and what he's doing. There's still rumors about the Creed brothers joining, so they're teasing out that Otis and Akira and Tozawa, tension there. Otis didn't really want to go with him at the end of the show, so maybe Otis is the guy out. The Creeds go in, and then it's like a new influx of talent there. You got some heaters behind him too. It's Gable's lifting the boats there too. He's been doing incredible work now for what? It's been a good 6-7 months since the first couple Gunther matches. I mean, really, people are getting behind Gable, and now this heel run could be huge for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm liking what they're doing here. I think the Alpha Academy prior to the heel turn was kind of going downhill. I didn't really know where their direction was. But now we're at a point where once Otis finally turns, because he's turning against him eventually, that pop could be as big as when Sammy turned on Roman. It's getting there. And then obviously, just like the Bloodline we have a second Alpha Academy 2.0 coming. We know the Creed brothers coming. Triple H loves his little hints there, here and there. We saw one yesterday, Monday night with Liv talking to JD, and
Dude, I
obviously
love
we
the
see Dom and
storytelling.
Liv.
I'm sorry. And I know that technically, we have been fans where we're like, we love the wrestling, and it's not sports entertainment. But if you're gonna watch something for 2 hours, yeah, there have to be little breadcrumbs, little storyline things here and there, just to keep you stimulated, just to let you keep you from zoning out for sure. But keep going, Prophet. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we obviously seen it with Liv and now Liv and Domin, and we saw where that ended up on Monday night. We've seen the little talks between the Creed brothers and
Gable.
Chad. And then obviously we know Ivy Nile and Maxine are good friends. I think something's gonna happen where Ivy gets Maxine to leave, and then obviously the Creed brothers somehow get mad at Ivy, and that's how they kind of separate from Ivy. So we got some more things coming there, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Seriously, excited to see what happens. And one example where I got to give dap is last night. NXT getting sexy with an absolute banger of an episode. And the only reason I know it's a banger episode because I couldn't keep it off my timeline. People were posting about this. People were posting about that. All of a sudden, you got Sexy Red with Shawn Michaels, and everyone's, going nuts. But, okay, there's my blank computer screen. We always love to see that. That happens every time. Very exciting. Let's pull that up. There we go. NXT got sexy last night. But with that said, do you guys see NXT because let's face it, it's been years in the making. They're on regular TV now for the most part, things like that. Are they going to rise to the level of a third full show? Because it seems like they're as close as they've ever been since they paid that TV. If that makes sense.
I don't think so. I think they're exactly where they're gonna get. I think this is the peak, and it's not necessarily gonna go downhill, but it might plateau. And that's not a bad thing. It's still a great product. And every now and then you do kind of have these super shows for NXT where you have Sexy Red coming on, snatching the belt from everybody. That one time that they really wanted to push numbers on AEW, they brought in the fucking Undertaker, John Cena and shit. Every now and then you'll have one of those NXT episodes that kind of just blows your mind, but the product is consistently good, and it's honestly perfect for what it is. I think it's exactly what it needs to be, and if they don't make any mistakes, it could keep going really well for NXT. I have no problem with what they're doing. I just don't know if it'll get to the level of Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it'll get to. I know they've been trying for years to get to that third show, but it's always going to be a developmental brand. With a few maybe here and there people coming down. But I mean, Shawn Michaels today made his profile pic him as the chef from that promo years ago, and he truly is cooking up something special right now in NXT. I mean, obviously we had freaking. We had Jordan Grace show up out of nowhere. No one saw anything like that. We saw Ethan Page show up in NXT, and there's reports that they're not done with just Jordan Grace. You know who needs to be there? Say his name, and he'll appear. I mean, we got to see Joe Hendry on WWE TV very soon.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Yeah, well, I mean, they call him the Prophet for a reason. He just jumped the next two, bottom lines here.
I do what I want.
But we got Ethan Page. Here's the end of the day. Ethan Page, was good for a couple matches. I don't know. He kind of put me to sleep. Like CM Punk in AEW. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. No more. Mike, maybe you have familiarity with some of his other bodies of work or whatnot. What's his ceiling in the Big E?
I'm very excited for his NXT run. On the main roster level, I don't know what. I don't think he's a world champion guy. I don't even really see him as an IC title or a US title guy on the main roster. He could have he could be maybe a part of a good group or a good hand at the top there. But in NXT, I think it's the perfect fit for him. You heard the reaction from the NXT crowd. It's not, when they saw him, they were excited about it. It's a guy that because you wonder with some of these guys his level when they're moving over companies, what's the reaction going to be when they show up somewhere else? Are people going to recognize them immediately? Are they going to be excited about it? Ethan Page is a guy who just didn't get a lot of opportunities, honestly, and he's a very solid wrestler. He can have great character work. I think that he didn't really touch the surface of what he can do character-wise in AEW, and maybe that's why he fits in NXT, where it's like very character skit, driven show where he can kind of flex his muscle there a little bit, and he can have such an outsized egotistical character and put him against Trick Williams. It's going to be entertaining TV segments, like promo battles and everything else. There's a lot of charisma with that guy. So I think he's a perfect fit for like the modern day NXT right now to have an impact. Beyond that, though, I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing everything NXT and WWE are doing, but I think it's time to make the move over to AEW, coming off a big Double or Nothing. So with that said, let's queue up some train wreck trivia.
Cause baby, you're down with more, lots more.
Okay, so obviously we know that the Double or Nothing match was a Anarchy in the Arena between the Elite and Team AEW this past week. That was the 6th edition of Double or Nothing, 2019, 2020, 21, 2, 3, 4. So with that said, 2 of the AEW Double or Nothing main events were one-on-one matches. What were they? Who competed in the
Jericho and Omega?
Jericho and Omega at the inaugural one, Double or Nothing.
Oh man. Trying to think.
Was Punk and
Hangman?
Was
Punk
that
and Hangman.
Yeah.
Punk and Hangman.
Wow.
So I was tracking this out. I was looking at these. These are some crazy matches. First off, you had Inner Circle was in back-to-back in 2020 and 2021. And then you just look at like some of these big, group matches. I mean, crazy. And just thinking of the memories, obviously, insane. So just looking back on Double or Nothing, definitely been a successful event for AEW. And that is the case with this. So basically, you look at AEW Double or Nothing as a show. Was there anything a negative from the show except for what happened with Copeland?
Too many matches. That's my one negative. Some of those matches were just not needed.
Yeah, you probably could have done without the likes of Cassidy versus Trent, even though as good a match it was, and even that FTW triple threat. Kind of just felt like Dynamite matches.
You could have done with that. Yeah, you could have also done without Moxley and
Takeshita. Absolutely, especially with the result too. I feel like if you do that, like the whole thing is to give Takeshita a future title shot, and you just do an eliminator and have him beat anyway on like a pay-per-view. That's just so unnecessary.
It's very funny. It just escaped exactly what I was gonna say. Sorry, blew it. Go on. What a loser. But anyways,
those are the three. I agree with all those matches. I don't think.
I'm sorry. I'm saying it was humorous to me. Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy, like you have years and years of buildup. Obviously, like this is probably a huge match that they look forward to for years. Funny that it fell flat, similar to the Usos only a month ago. That was what I was going to say. It's kind of not too dissimilar. Those matches with years and years of build-up. Obviously, the Usos have more. They came out of the womb together. We get it. But very similar in that. But looking at Double or Nothing Fallout, the biggest thing that sticks out to me, and then I'll bring it to you guys for what you think maybe for the biggest fallout. Team AEW loses. I wrote this in the rundown to the Elite, essentially. What does this mean? Are the Elite going to have more power going forward? Is Jack Perry going to be like a position just below an EVP? Like, what does this all mean for AEW? I hope we get a little bit more clarity. I guess they're promoting that the Elite are going to be talking about the TNT Championship tonight. So hopefully it'll be some nonsense. What? Jack Perry? Yes. Scapegoat getting a little title reward?
Yeah. I think they might give him like a hand or gauntlet match or something and have him like be the last member of the gauntlet, something cheesy like that. I don't know, but basically what the Elite are doing right now with that win in Anarchy in the Arena is just opening avenues for more storytelling down the line.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned on the preview show, I know a couple people said they wouldn't be surprised if Hangman showed up during Anarchy in the Arena and sides back with the EVPs after his suspension from the Elite. You could have Hangman come back, whole avenue with him. When Kenny's eventually good to get back on TV, he's also an EVP. There are all these different ways you can go, and it's a big game of chess, what they're doing with the Elite right now and which directions they can move after they've made the call that they just made. So it's a long game for the Elite, and they are playing it very well at the moment.
I think as much as anything, it makes sense to have the actual faction win, just so they're cohesive. They had a better plan. Obviously, they had a big plan for Darby. They knew what they were going to do with him, and everything else in match wise. But I think you're exactly right. So, like, it's starting a lot of things, whether it's Danielson and Okada down the line or something like that. You have now Darby and Danielson, both Washington guys, coming down the pipe there and working together. Swerve and Darby have, they've had the rivalry over the years, but then when Swerve won the title, they're celebrating online and in arena together. Swerve is starting to beef with the Elite too. So maybe there's some more connection with that. I think it's the start of a lot of things. Like Darby's not going to be, Darby's had a months-long feud with them now, going back to the Sting match and everything else. And it feels like it's just going to continue on with a lot of those pieces in that match. Obviously, FTR has a lot of the history, but they're a cohesive unit and they're dangerous. I think that's the biggest thing from it, that they're not just using their politics and their power to get the way too, but they can also beat up four of the best wrestlers in your company if they need to and get out there. So
you made a good point too with Swerve being involved, because now with the announcement that the winner of each respective Owen is going to get a world title shot at Wembley.
Yes.
You have a belt on Ospreay already. It doesn't look like he's going to get that shot at Wembley unless you go to have him do the tournament and go Ospreay 3 belts. Adam Cole and MJF are likely going to be running it back at All In. All goes to plan. I could be speaking too soon. I'm going to knock on wood. But that leaves a big opening for basically anyone on the roster to go in there and win the Owen. But do I think the EVPs are going to have a role in how that tournament is structured? Absolutely. And where's their boy Hangman, who they suspended? Bring him back in, give him a first round bye, and then you got yourself a trilogy at Wembley Stadium, buddy.
Or even telling like somebody in the second or third round, no, you're hurt. You're out of the Owen. Like, we got a new competitor. Something I want to see Max heelish like management. Like, if we're gonna have bad booking, at least have it being done by heels and make it like we're all over the place. I just love it. I think there's a lot they can do, and I'm excited for what to see. Speaking of which, so we just mentioned MJF, Adam Cole. Obviously, we got them both returning at Double or Nothing. Are they back imminently, either of them, to weekly TV? Like, not every week, but like, should we expect to see one of them on the show tonight?
I think Max is back. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
How the frequency, who knows at this point, but I think we might get some answers. I would love for them to open the show with him tonight.
I think they open Swerve and then Max. I think you got to address that.
Well, doesn't Swerve have a match tonight?
He does. You could do the match right after the promo segment if you want.
I love how when I heard Swerve versus Kill Switch, I was like, what? In a way, and then I saw the House of the Dragon stuff behind it. I was like, oh, they're still doing that shit, huh?
Hey, listen, I you know what? As we know in the chat, AEW is a business. Okay, we gotta get that back. Gotta make Max happy. They're giving belts to the inside the NBA crew. You see that?
Yeah.
Baller.
I mean, as we know, Shaq. He's 1-0 on AEW television.
What do you think? What do you think about them rolling up to a Dynamite as a faction named the Insiders?
Oh, bro, you're onto something, dude. Wow.
I'm saying
it
makes sense. The timing would be perfect.
And they have
I know they don't want to add another flight to like probably the fucking 8,000 they already have, but
they have an NWO like esque theme song.
Yes, dude, that would be amazing. And Shaq already has AEW familiarity, so we're all good there.
I mean, dude, make it all.
We do fantasy booking here on Wrestling Emotion. I know we're winding down and we might lose Mike momentarily. So real quick, Mike, TNT Championship, where do you want to see it go? And then anything else AEW needs to do these next, probably, what are we looking at? June, July, August to All In, right? Like it's this next 10 weeks that's massive for AEW. So what do you see in there? Or what do you see in the TNT picture?
I do think with the Bucks announcing it tonight that Jack Perry is either getting a very favorable match or getting put into the title match already at Forbidden Door, and they'll do some other machination to figure out who he fights. Some kind of fast forward for Jack Perry to get a TNT title shot. The immediate priorities, I'm really interested to see where we go with the TBS title division with Mercedes Moné. Willow and Stat will get some answers from Stat and Stokely tonight. That's an interesting story too. But what does Mercedes do as champion? Who is the first person that kind of comes through there? I'd imagine it's going to be someone from Stardom, at least for Forbidden Door, and she's had matchups in the past there. So really interested to see that. Going through to Forbidden Door apparently tonight also, that Casino Gauntlet for the AEW World title. All I've heard from any podcast or seen online is that it's a very surprising winner is currently scheduled for it. And the recently renamed Fortune 4 account has said it's a match of the year contender on paper for whoever's going to win it. And there's been talk that it's not necessarily a New Japan person. I think I'm putting it right here before I go, put my stamp on it. I think Will Ospreay is winning that gauntlet match again. And I think he's fighting Swerve, and he's going to be like, I'm still the champion of New Japan. My blood runs deep, whatever. And they just run Swerve and Ospreay right away.
Who you got? Swerve Ospreay. Jesus Christ!
I think Swerve wins.
And Ospreay, give Ospreay some adversity.
My Ospreay fan. That's what my Ospreay fantasy booking. He can lose that. He makes the Owen final, loses the Hangman in the Owen final. And the story about Ospreay is he can't win the big one in AEW. Then he gets a crowning moment later on.
I love it. Okay.
All right, boys.
Thank you very much, Mike. Go check him out on Happy Hour Hoops. We're just wrapping it up here. I had to put this in, and this brought me no joy, but I had to bring it up. Is it Tony Khan's responsibility that Adam Copeland got hurt? Prophet, I'm going to let you lead off.
I think it goes like semi his fault. I mean, obviously Copeland's the one who decided to do this move. He's at most of the fault, but we keep saying Tony Khan has to be a boss at one point or the other, and you have to, as a boss, put your foot down and be like, you are not doing this move. Like, you have to realize he's 50 years old. Like, he's landing on his foot. Even someone like 25 years old is breaking his leg doing that move. It was not smart. Obviously, it was Copeland's idea, but Tony Khan, being the boss, needs to say, no, you're not doing this move.
He also hesitated on the spot. I think like the spot you're not supposed to land on your feet.
You knew he didn't land right. 1,000%. I was hoping he wasn't hurt, but you knew he didn't land right away.
I will say I wouldn't say it's entirely Tony Khan's fault. Because we all know Tony Khan, a guy like Edge, is as famous as he is in the industry. All he's done for it. He comes to AEW and wants to do this shit. Tony's not going to look at him and say no. But there's got to be someone backstage with a brain to tell people like this in these spots, even if it is a veteran that insists on doing something like this, just a respectable guy that other wrestlers look up to that can say, hey, like, I know you're capable of this, but it's probably a bad idea at this point in your career. They just need a locker room presence like that. And you could say it needs to be Danielson, but we don't really know. We're not back there.
It sucks because they need an Undertaker. They need an Undertaker in the locker room, and it sucks because it seems like they may have had one in the form of Bret Hart, and he got rubbed the wrong way or didn't like what was going on, and he bounced, right?
Yeah, I don't even think he ended up coming in.
You say you need someone backstage who's a veteran who needs to tell the younger ones or maybe even the older ones some moves aren't smart. I remember what happened the last time someone.
You mean the guy that didn't want to do it, but he said Tony Schiavone basically dragged him by the earlobe to go bitch this guy out? What's your point?
I don't know. I'm just saying. They had someone who was backstage saying some moves aren't that smart.
I don't know. I just love that Jack Perry's getting a push strictly on the fact that he got fucked over by Punk.
And he's like doing, and you know what's funny is he's doing what literally the rumors was that like he jumped at Tony Khan and like Jack Perry's actually like pulling him. It's kind of funny.
That was amazing.
We got a minute real quick here too. Looking back on it, Prophet. Obviously, the all-in footage backstage wasn't anything revolutionary. It wasn't anything major that we didn't know. But looking back on it, it's pretty cool that we got to see exactly like frame for frame how it went down.
Yeah.
For sure. Like I
And
was
that's
saying,
all that matters when you look back at it. Like, because you got to admit that the WWE faithful were in pitchforks and torches the next couple of days. And looking back on it, it was some cool media to have out there until I see. I don't even think the segment was that great, to be honest. That their lead in with like them in the back, like AV room, they could have done that way better.
And
they could have done that way better, just to be clear.
Yeah.
But the fact that we got to see exactly what happened in the backstage of a major wrestling show, Gorilla, the largest wrestling show of all time, that's sick.
Yeah, and at the moment, we all were like, "Why are we even showing this? It makes no sense." But they're
you were like that.
Yeah, but there were a lot of people like me saying that. But
true.
But
Agreed.
They've kind of like added on to it with how Jack Perry's been acting. Like Tony Khan feared for his life, and then here comes Jack Perry, who hurt his neck when he shows up. Obviously, then we saw over the weekend, literally, he was like, "Wait, look where I am." He turns the corner, and there's Tony Khan sitting in his chair, just how he was when Punk lunged at him, and Jack Perry actually pulls him out. Like they're actually adding to it where no one was like, why are they even like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree. They're using it in a constructive way, which is exactly, I think if you look back at the clips, I think we were saying that they were going to build on it and they were using some more. Again, it's not a right or wrong. I just think it's interesting to look back now. I think everyone can agree. It was very cool to see that. And again, it's interesting to see how the elite continues to develop. Real quick, champions. We were talking about Mercedes Moné. We're talking about Swerve Strickland, obviously. You guys theorizing any potential challengers for these champions? I know Micah said his piece.
I think TBS, be it TBS or Women's World Title, you could split one of them either way. But the return of Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter are both ominous at this point. It's just waiting to happen. It's just a matter of when. And you could send them either way. There's a lot of cool feuds you could do now with these big guns in the women's title picture. I think we were all pretty much on the same page. AEW world title picture, even though a lot can happen, and Ospreay hopefully makes that international championship good. But I'm mainly focused on these women that could come back and really get this women's division bumping.
Yeah, apparently Britt Baker sold out like her action figure in like less than 30 seconds or something. Like clearly the fanhood wants her back on TV, so we'll see.
Yeah, I definitely think, like Slick said, I think the two women's titles will definitely see Britt Baker and Hayter in their picture. For the world title, we obviously have Hangman looming. We have Ospreay looming. We obviously I think the first one's Adam Cole, but MJF's gonna be back in that picture and in the next few months. And then you have Okada's, which I'm assuming it's gonna be Danielson. I don't really see anyone else for that one. And then for Ospreay, who knows who can be in that picture? There's definitely a lot of guys there.
I actually think Okada is going to win the Heart, and he's going to challenge Swerve at All In.
Wow,
yeah,
that's a main event. Hey,
that's what I'm saying, and I agree. And that's the beauty of AEW right now, right? You can go. I mean, you could even go, balls to the walls, last dance. Bryan Danielson challenges for the AEW world title at All In, and that would still be like a fucking banger, right? Like, so there's literally 5 to 7 guys on this AEW roster who you can trust with that spot. So that's very cool.
Yeah, and then we're gonna get answers for a TNT champion tonight, it seems. So
it's gonna be heel as hell. I think that one you can guarantee is going to Jack Perry in some form.
Gonna be special.
It is going to be special. Speaking of which, this segment, I love it. By the way, quick announcement. We will have a new segment coming up on Wrestling with Emotion, Pros and Cons. I'm excited to get into it in the coming weeks. We will have standings. And we have flirted with the idea of doing a promotions draft. We're going forward maybe once every couple of weeks. We have our own promotions, and we draft a wrestler to the promotion, and we compare who has the better roster at the end of the day. So thanks for tuning along with us. Boys, any shout-outs before we sign off here? You just keep it
I just hope we're not paying $200K for tab that on the screen, because we're also probably on a budget.
That's true. We are on a budget.
Yeah, we need license for that. Shout out to the Boston Celtics back in the NBA Finals.
When was the last time that you literally, because I can be honest, I legitimately laughed out loud when that happened during the match and he screamed out that they were paying $200,000. Like, I can't remember the last time I laughed during a match. So that was great to see. great entertainment. Thank you for following along with us on this entertainment. Follow on all platforms. Wrestle W Emotion. Follow Profit. Follow Slick. Follow Micah. Follow myself. And at the end of the day, it's not the show of wrestling with your conscience. It's not the show where you wrestle with your budget. It is the show where it's wrestling with emotions.